Shalom, and welcome to V'ahavta Yisrael, a Hebrew phrase which means you shall love Israel. We hope you'll stay with us for the next 30 minutes as our teacher, Dr. Baruch, shares his expository teaching from the Bible. Dr. Baruch is the senior lecturer at the Zera Avraham Institute based in Israel. Although all courses are taught in Hebrew at the Institute, Dr. Baruch is pleased to share this weekly address in English. To find out more about our work in Israel, please visit us on the web at LoveIsrael.org. That's one word, LoveIsrael.org. Now, here's Baruch with today's lesson.
The Torah reveals that the two becomes one flesh. Obviously, that passage from the book of Genesis is speaking about the two, the husband and the wife. And it speaks about intimacy, a unique union between this man and this woman. And one of the implications of that is that we should not be selfish. The Bible in the book of Ephesians in chapter 5 speaks specifically to the man. And the Bible reveals to the man that his wife should be thought of as his own body, his very flesh. What is the implication to that? Very simply, husbands, as we invest, as we give of ourselves to our wife, realize that that is going to come back as a blessing to us. So if you love your wife, you're really acting in a way that in the end you're going to love as well. There's going to be a benefit, a blessing from giving to your wife. In the book of Genesis further, we have learned that the husband, in order to receive a wife, he had to give. He gave, according to tradition, his rib. Now, the word here speaks about a side, but literally it's he gave of his rib and he received a wife. So it's this giving that causes him to receive, a very important biblical truth. So a godly husband is going to think of how he can give, what he can do, how he can provide for his wife, realizing that in the end, it's really going to be a blessing for him. Well, with that said, take out your Bible and look with me to the book of the Song of Songs in chapter 3. Now, I've mentioned repeatedly, and I'll continue to do so, that this book, the Song of Songs, is just that, a song. And I have shared with you that really what we're looking at is a song that is kind of a play. There are characters, there are different acts that take place in this song. So it's kind of a musical. And the purpose of it is for Solomon to share with us wisdom in order to have a godly marriage. A marriage that realizes that marriage is a covenant and its purpose is to glorify God. In this third chapter, we're going to see initially a dream. Now, once more, this book is not relating a historical event. It is not told in a narrative account, but rather it is a song that tells a story, just that, a story, in order to provide marital counsel to the reader. And we're going to see two different but related acts in this third chapter. The first is a dream that speaks about the strong desire of the Shulamite, the woman, in order to be reunited with her husband, that is, her beloved shepherd. And obviously, Solomon is not that shepherd. The second part of this third chapter is going to give us a presentation of the wedding day. And we're going to learn a great deal about this desired wedding that Solomon wanted. Some scholars see this whole third chapter as simply a dream, a manifestation of thought in order to teach and instruct the reader. Well, with that said, let's begin. Take out your Bible and look with me to the Song of Songs and chapter 3. The Song of Songs and chapter 3. We begin with verse 1. Upon my bed. Now, what do we do in bed? We sleep. What do we do frequently when we are asleep? We dream. So this is the context for rightly understanding what is being revealed in this section. Upon my bed in the nights. Now pay attention. Nights in the plural. That's important because it shows a reoccurring theme. That at nighttime she dreams repeatedly about her beloved. And what is at the heart of her dream? This reunification. Being brought together once more with her beloved. Upon my bed in the nights, I have sought the one whom my soul loves. This concept of whom my soul loves speaks about an intense love, but also a godly, a pure, a holy love. I have sought him, but I have not found him. Now, again, this puts hard evidence against the fact that the beloved one is Solomon. It wouldn't be hard for her to find Solomon. He's in the palace. People who serve Solomon know where he is. She would have an easy time, but she is separated, not from Solomon, but from her beloved shepherd. And we read in verse 2, she has a plan. Here again, all within a dream. She says, I will rise up and I will go through the city, into the markets and into the streets. For what purpose? Now, once again, this is a dream. She's saying in the midst of this that she rises up in the night and she leaves where she is. She goes through the streets, into the markets, into the various streets and alleys, looking for her beloved. This is the dream that she's having. She says, I have sought him, the one whom my soul loves. But, look at the end of verse 2. But she says, I have not found him. So it's underscored over and over, this separation and this strong, this overwhelming desire she has to once more be together with him. So she's wandering in the streets, in the markets at night, looking for her beloved, but she does not find him. Verse 3. The subject of verse 3 are the Shomrim. Who are they? The guard. Probably referring to the night watchmen. These night watchmen find me, she says, the ones who go throughout the city. And she asks them a question. It's written here, the one whom my soul loves, have you seen? So she's asking help, assistance, counsel from the night watchman. Have you seen the love of my life? Once more. Makes no sense if it's Solomon. Verse 4. In a little bit further, she says, I pass by them until I find the one whom my soul loves. Now, again, this is not reality. She is not actually finding the one she loves. This is a dream that she's having. And oftentimes dreams can be very frustrating. We've all had dreams where we're trying to get someplace and we just can't arrive there. There's something always happening. We can't walk, we can't move. Something is holding us back. And we have that familiar feeling of frustration. And we wake up and we continue to feel that same sensation of frustration. This is what she's experiencing. She says, it's just a little bit further. And I pass by them and I find the one that my soul loves. I seize him. And she says, I will not let go of him until I have brought him to the house of my mother, to the room of my parents. Now, what is she saying here? Well, she wants to take him home. Why? Well, oftentimes, and notice, she's speaking almost at the end of this passage as a young girl. I want to go to the house of my mother. I want to go to the chamber, the room of my parents. Why? Well, this is a place of safety, of security. It's to underscore she's not comfortable. She doesn't feel secure with where she is. And she wants to go back to, just like a small child does when they get upset or they have a bad dream. What do? Oftentimes they stumble into their parents' room and they find comfort, security in that location. So she's having this dream where what does she want to do? Find her beloved and go to a place of safety, presumably away from where she is, into the house of her mother, into the inner chamber of her parents. And here she finds satisfaction, contentment within that dream. Verse 5. Once more, it's a repetitive verse that we've seen a few times earlier, where she speaks now to the chorus. Remember, a song? She's the primary speaker, and now there's going to be a chorus behind her, next to her, that she's going to address. And this chorus is called the Daughters of Jerusalem. She charges them, she makes them take an oath. Look at verse 5. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the deer or the young deer. This is a word for a rock or a desert goat, so to speak. And what do we know about them? Well, they are very skittish. I shared with you earlier, she charges them to be very careful concerning this love. In the same way that a deer or a mountain goat, that if you come upon them, they flee. They don't like the presence of other individuals. And this is what she's saying about love. It's very precious. It's easily affected adversely. So she says, I charge you. She says, do not stir up, do not wake up love until it has its desire, meaning until it is completed. So once more, it's a message of love is very fragile. Many things are able to attack it and damage it. And that's why we need to have safeguards, and we have to watch out for our marital relationship. Verse 6. Now, in the Hebrew Bible, there is a space, a longer space, between verse 5 to verse 6 than any of the other verses so far in chapter 3. Why? Well, it tells us that we're entering into another section. And this is going to be a section that speaks of Solomon and the great joy that he has. Now, what's interesting is how she's speaking this account, but how she speaks of it as almost an outsider. In other words, there's no way that you can look at this section of chapter 3 in regard to his wedding day, and we find that it is not the joy of the Shulamite, this woman, but rather everything's about Solomon. And pay close attention to what is said concerning this day. Chapter 3 and verse 6. Who is this one coming up from the wilderness? Now, the wilderness speaks about dependence, but it can also speak about emptiness, that which is of no report, something that has nothing there. And it's interesting that twice we're going to see language like this. Here in chapter 3, but again later on at the conclusion of this Song of Songs. And we're going to see that the word midbar, wilderness, is being used in two very different ways. In this passage is speaking about emptiness, that which is lacking. But in the final session, we're going to see that it's going to speak of dependence, that she has made herself dependent upon her spouse, and that he has indeed brought about this reunification between himself and her. So we're going to see a happy ending. But look, if you would, to verse 6 of this third chapter. Who is this one coming up from the wilderness as pillars of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and frankincense, from every type of powder of the merchants? Now, what do we have here? Well, we're going to see, and I'll share with you what the answer is before we look at the biblical justification for it. But this is all about Solomon. He is the focus of this wedding day. That not ought be. It should be the female, the bride. In this case, the Shulamite. But this is not the situation. He comes, and what does it say? He has pillar of perfumes. Now, Solomon's coming, we'll see how in a moment. And before he arrives, what's there? His strong perfume. Like pillars of smoke is his perfume. Verse 7. Behold, it is the mita, that is the bed. And we're going to have a better definition of what it's referring to. Now, think about in ancient Egypt. You watch a movie, and oftentimes the queen or the king, they wouldn't go walking from place to place, but they would have a place that they would sit down, this lovely chair or like a portable couch, and they would lay upon it as servants would carry them from place to place. This is the imagery here. When it talks about Solomon's bed, it goes on and says, keep reading, second part of verse 7. Behold, this is the bed or the couch to Solomon, and with it is 60 mighty men around this couch. And they are of the heroes, the mighty ones of Israel. All of them are holding a sword. Now, why is that? Well, opposition. The ideal here is that there's these mighty men, 60 of them, and they're there for a purpose. And we don't have to wonder what that purpose is. It says each of them, all of them, are seizing a sword. They're all trained in war. This is also a very important piece of information. in assisting us interpreting this right. War, opposition, and every man his sword upon his side, his hip or his thigh. Why? Mipachad be lailot, from the fear of nights. Now, what is the fear of nights? Well, most scholars tell us it's simply a synonym or a word that speaks of fear of the unknown. Solomon, he wants this day to happen. We're going to see that it's his joyful day. Everything's focused upon him and his happiness. And he's got these 60 warriors who are trained in battle. And they're armed. Why? Because of the fear of the unknown. He's not sure that this day is actually going to happen. There's something that he's concerned that's going to interfere with it. Verse 9. Verse 9, the first word is apirion, which is a clear word. The first one was kind of a bed or a couch, what is lied upon. But now we use a word that speaks about this in a very luxurious manner, this portable couch. And it's a word that speaks of splendor, of glory, that which is luxurious. So it is the portable couch that the King Solomon, made for himself from the wood of Lebanon. So in the same way that God made a temple from the wood of Lebanon, Solomon, he makes himself this portable couch, this way to travel. He makes it from that same material. And notice how it's described further. Look now to verse 10. Its pillars are made with silver, and it has gold upholstery. And it is a chariot of purple, argamon. Argamon is a royal color. And its midst is paved with the love of the daughters of Jerusalem. Now, how do we understand that? Well, why would you say its interior has been paved with the love of the daughters of Jerusalem? Some might say it's these daughters of Jerusalem that have done the work. But when we look at the context, these daughters of Jerusalem are being instructed on how to find a godly spouse. They are women who are candidates for marriage. And what it seems to say here is that this portable couch of Solomon, he's used it many times. Now that shouldn't surprise us, because if we look at 1 Kings, what does it say about Solomon? He's never been married? No. He has 700 wives, 300 concubines. Solomon is not a one-man woman. Rather, he is a man that's known many women. And this, in my opinion, is what it's saying about this luxurious, this couch of splendor, this means of transportation, that there's been many women there before that he has loved. So he's bringing this same couch for his wedding. Now, what I would glean from that is this. There's nothing special. It is not something that has been made uniquely, designated for his wedding day. Rather, it's something that he has used time and time again. And in the same way that we should save ourselves for our spouse, that our virginity is something special unto them, not that we have given to over and over having that same experience. Look at verse 11. And verse 11 is probably one of the most telling verses in this chapter. Because once more the Shulamite, she is speaking and she says, Go forth and see, O daughters of Zion. Go and behold him. And I believe she's saying something is this what you are looking for? Is this what you are wanting? And what is she telling them to look at? She says, go forth, O daughters of Zion, and see the King Solomon, who has been crowned by his mother for the day of his wedding. Now, notice, everything has been done for him. It is all about him. And she's saying, is this what we want? Is this the type of spouse that we're looking for? One that it's his day. In fact, it says, on the day of the gladness of his heart. So the message is this. Is this about them? No, it is about him. And this is the problem. And we're going to see that this is how she feels. That the reason why she's been taken is for Solomon. He's not thinking about her, what's going to make her happy, what's going to be pleasurable for her in her life. No, he has taken her for himself. This is his objective. And therefore, we see all of what? Well, notice how it says that he is perfumed with all the powder of the merchants. And there's these pillars of perfume where her beloved is not perfume but oil. Oil poured out, and what she's speaking about, oil poured out, is really his good name, his character. That's her beloved, and it's not Solomon. So what we're going to do is that we're going to recognize this passage of Scripture for what it is. For two visions, dreams, revelations found within this song that we are to glean information from. And next week, as we continue on, we'll go into chapter 4, and we'll see how different the language, the tone, what is said by her true beloved, how he responds, and this is the key, how he praises her rather than exalting himself. It's this dichotomy, this difference between her beloved and how his thoughts are for her, and how Solomon, it's all about his own happiness. Well, I'll close with that. Until next week, shalom from Israel.
Well, we hope you will benefit from today's message and share it with others. Please plan to join us each week at this time and on this channel for our broadcast of LoveIsrael.org. Again, to find out more about us, please visit our website, LoveIsrael.org. There you will find articles and numerous other lectures by Baruch. These teachings are in video form. You may download them or watch them in streaming video. Until next week, may the Lord bless you in our Messiah Yeshua, that is Jesus, as you walk with him. Shalom from Israel.